Welcome to Easy English with KT, where learning English is fun, simple, and practical.
Why are native English speakers so hard to understand? I can understand my English teacher most of the time, but when I watch movies, YouTube videos, or listen to native speakers, I get lost after just a few seconds. Sometimes I wonder if they're even speaking English.
That's a fantastic question, Emma, and I think millions of English learners have asked the same thing. If you're listening today and you've ever felt frustrated because native speakers seem impossible to understand, don't worry. You're definitely not alone. The first thing I want you to know is this: the problem is that your English is bad. In fact, you may know a lot more English than you think. The real reason is that the English you learn in the classroom is often different from the English people use in everyday life.
Really, I always thought I just wasn't good enough.
That's what many learners believe, but it's usually not true. Think about your English teacher. Teachers speak clearly. They pronounce every word carefully because they want students to understand. They may also speak a little more slowly, but imagine two close friends talking at a coffee shop. They aren't thinking about English learners. They're speaking naturally, quickly, and comfortably. That's why it sounds so different.
So it's not just me.
Not at all. Even advanced English learners sometimes have difficulty understanding native speakers, especially when they hear different accents or very fast conversations. Let's look at an example. Imagine your teacher says, "What are you doing?" Most teachers pronounce every word clearly. "What are you doing?" Now listen to how many native speakers say the same sentence. "What are you doing?" Can you hear the difference?
Wow, that sounds completely different. If I heard "what are you doing?" in a movie, I probably wouldn't know it means "what are you doing?"
Exactly, that's because native speakers often connect words together. They don't stop after every word like we usually do when we're learning English. This is called connected speech. Connected speech happens because people want to speak naturally and smoothly. It's not incorrect English, it's simply how people communicate in real life. Let's look at another example. Instead of saying, "Did you eat?" many native speakers say, "Did you eat?" or instead of, "What do you want?" They might say, "What do you want?" At first, these expressions can sound confusing, but once you know them, you'll begin to recognize them everywhere.
I think that's happened to me. Sometimes I know every word in a sentence, but when someone says it quickly, I can't recognize any of the words.
That's one of the biggest surprises for English learners. You already know the vocabulary, you already know the grammar, but your ears haven't learned to recognize spoken English yet. Think about learning to ride a bicycle. Reading English is like learning the rules of riding. Listening to real English is actually getting on the bicycle and practicing. The first few times you may lose your balance, but after enough practice, riding becomes natural. Listening works the same way.
That makes me feel much better, so I shouldn't expect to understand everything immediately.
Exactly. In fact, even native speakers sometimes ask each other to repeat something. Have you ever heard someone say, "Sorry, could you say that again?" or "I didn't catch that"? Native speakers use these expressions all the time because people mumble, speak quickly, or there's too much background noise, so don't feel embarrassed if you don't understand everything.
That's interesting. I always thought native speakers understood every single word.
Not at all. Communication isn't about understanding every word, it's about understanding the main idea. For example, imagine someone says, "Hey, are you free tomorrow afternoon? We're thinking about grabbing lunch together around 1. Maybe you don't know the expression grabbing lunch. But if you understand they're inviting you to eat together tomorrow, you've understood the important message. That's real communication.
So I don't have to understand 100%.
Exactly, many learners make the mistake of trying to understand every single word. That actually makes listening harder. Instead, focus on the overall meaning first. As your listening improves, you'll naturally begin to catch more details. And here's something encouraging. Every time you listen to English, your brain gets a little better at recognizing these sounds. Even if you don't realize it, you're making progress. So don't give up after one difficult movie or one confusing podcast. Keep listening, your ears are learning, even when it doesn't feel like it.
That's really encouraging. I never thought listening was a skill that needed training.
It absolutely is. Just like going to the gym strengthens your muscles, regular listening strengthens your ears and your brain. The more you listen, the more natural English begins to sound.
So if connected speech is one reason native speakers are difficult to understand, what's another reason?
Great question, Emma. Another very important reason is speed. Native speakers often speak much faster than English learners expect, and that's exactly what we'll explore next.
Billy, you said another reason is speed. Honestly, that's exactly how I feel. Sometimes native speakers talk so fast that I can't even hear where one word ends and the next one begins.
That's a very common experience, Emma, but here's something interesting. Native speakers don't actually try to speak fast. They're simply speaking at a natural speed because that's how they communicate every day. Think about how you speak your first language. You probably don't stop after every word. You speak smoothly because your brain already knows what you want to say. English is the same for native speakers.
So they aren't trying to make English difficult for us.
Not at all, they're just having a normal conversation. Let's compare two examples. A teacher might say, "Today we're going to learn about English pronunciation." Everything is clear and easy to hear. Now imagine two friends talking after class. "Today we're gonna learn about English pronunciation." The sentence is much faster, but it's still the same message.
I noticed you said gonna. That's not what we learn in textbooks.
Great observation. In formal English we say, "I'm going to study tonight." But in everyday conversation many native speakers say, "I'm gonna study tonight." Gonna simply means going to. You'll hear it in movies, podcasts, songs, and conversations all the time. Here's another example. Instead of saying, "Do you want to come with us?" many native speakers say, "Do you want to come with us?" Wanna means want to. It's informal spoken English.
So they're not using bad English.
Not at all. This is something many learners misunderstand. Native speakers know the formal version. They simply choose a more relaxed way of speaking when talking with friends or family. You should still write going to and want to in essays or exams, but when listening, it's important to recognize gonna and wanna. Otherwise, you may think they're completely different words.
I think that's happened to me many times.
Exactly, and there are more. You might hear, "I gotta go." That means I have got to go, or simply I have to go. You may also hear, "Lemme see." That means let me see, or "dunno." That means I don't know. These expressions are everywhere in spoken English.
Wow, I hear those words all the time in movies, but I never knew exactly what they meant.
And that's why listening becomes easier when you become familiar with these expressions. Instead of hearing strange sounds, you'll start recognizing real words. Another reason native speakers seem difficult to understand is that they often don't pronounce every sound perfectly. For example, if someone is tired, excited, laughing, or speaking quickly, some sounds become weaker. Imagine someone says, "What did you do yesterday?" In careful speech, every word is clear. But in natural conversation, it may sound more like, "What did ya do yesterday?" To English learners, that sounds completely different. But to native speakers, it's perfectly normal.
So pronunciation changes because people want to speak more smoothly.
Exactly, our mouths naturally try to make speaking easier and faster. This happens in every language. Think about your own language. Do people always pronounce every word perfectly in casual conversations? Probably not. Sometimes words become shorter, sometimes sounds disappear, sometimes two words join together. English works exactly the same way.
I never thought about it like that.
That's why I always tell learners not to panic. If native speakers sound different from your teacher, that's normal. You're not learning a new language, you're simply learning a new way of hearing the language you already know. And here's another important point. Many learners believe they should understand every English accent immediately. That's impossible. Even native English speakers sometimes need time to get used to different accents. For example, someone from the United States may need a little time to adjust to a Scottish or Australian accent. Likewise, someone from England might not immediately understand every regional American accent. Different accents are a natural part of English.
Really, I thought only English learners had that problem.
Not at all. English is spoken all over the world. People from different countries and even different cities may pronounce words differently. That's completely normal. So if one accent is difficult, don't think you failed. It simply means your ears need more exposure to that particular way of speaking.
That makes me feel much more confident. I used to think I wasn't smart enough to understand native speakers.
Emma, remember this: understanding native English speakers isn't about intelligence, it's about experience. The more you listen, the more familiar these sounds become. Your brain slowly starts recognizing patterns. One day you'll suddenly notice, "Hey, I understood that whole conversation." And that's one of the most exciting moments in learning English.
I can't wait for that day.
It will come sooner than you think, but listening alone isn't enough. You also need the right practice. In the final part of today's podcast, I'll share 5 simple but powerful tips that can help you understand native English speakers much faster. Those are the same strategies that many successful English learners use every day.
Billy, today's discussion has already helped me understand why native speakers sound so different. But I'm sure many listeners are wondering the same thing I am. What can we actually do to improve our listening?
That's the most important question, Emma. The good news is that you don't need to move to an English-speaking country or study for 10 hours a day. Small, consistent practice can make a big difference. Let me share 5 simple tips that anyone can start using today. Tip 1. Listen to English every day. The first tip is simple: listen to English every day. You don't have to study grammar every day, but you should try to hear English every day. Even 10 or 15 minutes can help. Think about learning music. If you only practice once a week, it takes a long time to improve. But if you practice a little every day, you improve much faster. Listening works the same way.
So even a short podcast or a short YouTube video can help.
Exactly. The goal isn't to understand everything. The goal is to train your ears. Every time you listen, your brain becomes more familiar with English sounds, rhythm, and pronunciation. Tip 2. Listen to the same audio more than once.
Usually listen once, and if I don't understand it, I choose another video.
That's a very common mistake. Many learners think they should always listen to something new. But listening to the same audio 2 or 3 times is actually one of the best ways to improve. The first time, try to understand the main idea. The second time, notice new words or expressions. The third time, you'll probably understand much more than you did at the beginning. You'll be surprised how much your listening improves just by repeating the same audio. Tip 3. Repeat what you hear.
Should I just listen or should I speak too?
Great question. I always recommend doing both. After you hear a sentence, pause the audio and repeat it aloud. For example, if you hear, "I'm gonna call you later," pause the audio and say it yourself. Try to copy the speaker's pronunciation, rhythm, and speed. This technique is called shadowing, and it's a wonderful way to improve both listening and speaking at the same time.
So I'm training my ears and my mouth together.
Exactly. The more you sound like natural English, the easier it becomes to understand natural English. Tip 4. Don't translate every word.
I think I have another bad habit. When I hear English, I translate everything into my own language.
You're definitely not alone. Many English learners do that, but translation slows your listening down. Imagine someone says, "Let's grab some coffee after work." If you stop to translate every single word, the speaker has already continued talking. Instead, try to understand the meaning of the whole sentence. Your brain will gradually learn to think in English without translating everything first. That takes practice, but it's worth it. Tip 5. Be patient and keep going.
Sometimes I feel like I'm not improving at all.
Every English learner feels that way sometimes. Learning a language isn't like flipping a light switch. It happens little by little. One day you'll suddenly realize, "Wait, I understood that movie scene," or "I didn't need subtitles this time." Those small victories are signs that you're improving. So don't compare yourself to other learners. Compare yourself to the person you were last month. If you're understanding a little more today than before, then you're making progress.
I really like that advice. Sometimes we forget to celebrate small improvements.
Exactly. Learning English isn't about being perfect. It's about improving one step at a time. So if you still find native speakers difficult to understand, don't be discouraged. Keep listening, keep practicing, keep believing in yourself. Your listening skills will improve, and one day you'll realize that conversations which once sounded impossible now sound much easier.
Billy, thank you so much for explaining everything today. I learned that native speakers aren't speaking a different language. They simply speak naturally, and with enough practice, I can learn to understand them too.
That's exactly right, Emma. We hope today's discussion has helped you understand why native English speakers can sometimes be difficult to follow, and more importantly, what you can do to become a better listener. Don't forget to subscribe to Easy English with KT for more discussions about the challenges English learners face and practical tips to help you improve your English with confidence.
Thank you so much for listening. We hope to see you in our next podcast.
Until next time, keep listening, keep learning, and never give up on your English journey. Bye.